guys, I've had some questions about the mountain bike marathons, how, what, where, and those kind of stuff. So I'm going to run through that with you real quick. Real quick. I have the whole day because I'm in lockdown. I'm not allowed to work as chiropractor, so we can spend the whole day doing this. We can do a live show actually. Where? I live in Holland, and we have a couple of races in Holland. I can't say 1 or 2 or 10 at the moment. It's I would guess about 10 to 15 races in Holland we have. Most of the races I do are in Germany, and they are hosted in a couple of small villages or bigger villages, mostly in the hilly areas, of course. I'm talking about the Vulcan Eifel, or I'm talking about Winterberg, that area, those two areas, and then also a little bit further at Kassel, that area as well. So, and surroundings. Those are the 3 places where I mostly do my races in Germany. And if you do a race of 100 kilometers, you might have 3,000 height meters. If you do a race of 60 kilometers, you might have 2,000 height meters, and 30 k's 1,000 height meters, something like that. In Holland, you might have 1,000 height meters for a 100k race, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. And for a 60k race, you might have 600 height meters. That's very iffy depending on the course, because the courses are mostly done in the hilly areas. I mean, you can't really ride a marathon race where it's totally flat. I guess you can, but not much to that, I guess. So Holland's a good place to race. Germany's a good place to race. Some races are in Luxembourg and some in Belgium. I've never raced in Belgium because I always hear it's only muddy and wet, so I've never been there, but that's just that's probably not even true. So you can race in Holland, Belgium, Germany, a whole bunch of races in Germany. You can just go onto the internet. If you have any questions or you want any ideas where to go, let me know. I'll get back to you as soon as possible on that. But there are a lot of races over here, so there's a lot of stuff you can do. Think about it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll get back to you ASAP. Good morning, guys. I've had some questions from a couple of guys if anyone can do mountain bike races. Well, mostly there are a couple of categories. Obviously, big mountain bike races we can't ride, and there are ones you can and you can't, so we'll go through that. The long distance races, which are hosted by smaller cities or counties in Europe and in Holland and in Germany, the ones that I do, actually anyone can race. You have to sign a waiver that you're healthy, and anyone can enter the race, so that is no problem. You can usually just enter online if you think you can cover the distance. Usually they have, if it's a marathon of 100 kilometers, they have the 100 kilometer race, they have a 60 kilometer race and a 30 kilometer race, which is approximately a situation where you have 1 lap or 2 laps or 3 laps. Where the 3 laps, of course, the marathon, the 2 laps is the half marathon, they call that, and the 1 lap is the fun ride. Anyone can do that. What you have to do if it's your first race and you have doubts about how you're going to do, and if you're able to keep up with the pace, or you just want to have fun, you want to be out there, the safest thing is to start at the back. Just start at the back, start slowly, do your own thing, because the starts can be extremely hectic. That's known within mountain biking wherever you go. If you stand in the front, or you are allowed to stand in the front, which happens in the cross-country races, you have to have a certain amount of points for each race, which means you move up and you can start further to the front. In a marathon race, that's not the case. Mostly the guys go and warm up and then make sure they stand at the starting line a half an hour before to get a good place, good position, because it starts hectic and fast. And you don't have to do that. You can go stand right at the back and just see how you feel. Just start slowly, ride your own pace and do your own thing. And if you feel better, you go faster. If you feel worse, you go slower. Some races start behind a car, which means that the riders have to stay behind the car, and the pace is very slow, so it's quite safe. And until the group is outside of the city, then the car pulls away and the race starts. That is also an option. You get those races as well, and my advice would be to start at the back as well. That's always much safer. And once the group gets going, when the car pulls over, it's also hectic. So, but it is safer than just starting off the line. What else about the starts? To go and start in the starting, to stand in the starting gate half an hour before the race starts, usually it's freezing and ice cold. So I do it when I think that's going to be a really fast start and the start's important. I stand in front at the starting line half an hour before, because sometimes you go into a technical section and you need to be in the front, because otherwise you can be held up for 4 or 5 minutes sometimes. Seeing that I'm 50 plus, I don't stand right in front, but I try to be in maybe the first 20, first 10 rows of riders. That just gives you a better oversight of what's happening. You have less chance of falling at the start. That's always a bit of a problem. I stood once in a race in Germany. I stood right in front, and the guys next to me fell, and they fell hard, and they just missed me. I was just lucky. So that's the only bad experience I've had with the start. And if you're careful, you think about what you do, you can be fine, and you don't have to worry about it. My advice would be start at the back, take it easy, see how it goes, and as you do more races you can progress to the front, of course, and just start at the back, see how it goes. The next thing is, do you have to warm up or not? Well, it's depending on what you want. If you just want to ride and enjoy the nature and start at the back and have fun, you don't have to warm up. You can just go and stand in the gate right at the back and start riding slowly and use the first 10 kilometers to warm up, see how you feel, and from there on you can carry on and go faster or not. If you want to race it and you want to be with the front group and you think, well, I'm going to do the short race, but I really want to be in the front and I want to go as fast as possible and see how I do, yes, you have to warm up, because otherwise you're going to get like a lactic acid overdose from not warming up and going through to a high heart rate immediately. So I would say in that case you have to warm up. Usually it's very cold, these races, especially in March, April, September, October in the mornings. So a warm up is always handy. Take some warm clothes with, warm up. Find someone you can give the clothes to before the start. While you're standing still, keep the clothes on. Take them off 5 minutes before the start and give them to someone next to the starting gate on your side. There's always some kind of barrier where they can stand. You can just pass your clothes over. So try and keep warm before the start, because it's really cold and nippy in the mornings in Europe. So that will be my advice. Of Of course you have the hot races, and then you don't have to worry about it. But I think a warm-up just right for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I always do half an hour with 1 or 2 intervals, because sometimes when you stand in the front, but then of course racing and having fun is 2 different things. So my advice would be anyway to just do a 10-minute ride beforehand. As I said before, I do 30 minutes with 2 or 3 intervals in there. So, and then I try to keep warm before the start and pass my leggings and my arm warmers and my jacket to someone that's standing next to me that I know they can put it in a bag for me somewhere, and so it doesn't get stolen. But sometimes I'll just chuck stuff over the fence next to me and they never get stolen in Europe, so that's also okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is food. Guys have asked me, do I need my own food? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. Each race organization provides 1 or 2 places where you can stop. You can get the best stuff to eat: cakes, bananas, raisins, grapes, juices, pieces of bread with butter. We can get everything you want. So you don't have to worry about food. You can also get water and Coca-Cola and that kind of stuff, so you don't have to worry about food. It's handy to take 2 water bottles with you and maybe a couple of gels just in case you run into trouble. For the rest, you can take something to eat like a banana with you, but a banana is quite gets all mushy and stuff, and if you get about it in your backpack, in your back pocket, and at some stage you're reaching back to fetch a gel, the banana's all mushy. So if you take a banana with, remember to eat it on time, and that's very important. So what I would advise is one of 2 things: either you're totally dependent, except for the 2 water bottles and maybe 2 gels, you can be totally dependent on the race organization. That's really no problem. Just find out at what kilometer the food stop is, so you know where you're working towards and you know where you can stop. If you want to race, that's different. What we do is we have gels, maybe something solid to eat like a bar, carbohydrate bar with nuts and stuff, just to settle the stomach a little bit. I have 1 bottle with water and 1 bottle with carbohydrate mix, and then after 1 round, what we do is we put 2 extra water bottles down on the floor, and after the first lap we stop. I chuck my 2 water bottles on the ground that I've used already, and I grab 2 new water bottles and off I go. I have enough gels for the 60 kilometer or 70 kilometer races, because I do the half marathons. So, and if you want to do a marathon, you can always put 6 bottles or 4 or 5 bottles down. You can also stop after a lap and take the time and drink a water bottle, because if you're racing you always tend to not drink enough. So you can also just chuck your 2 water bottles down, take 2 new water bottles, and take the time, 30 seconds to 45 seconds, to drink a whole bottle of a whole bidon of water, because you can rather drink a little bit too much, well actually also not too much, but that's hardly ever happens, than too little. Sometimes it's really hot out there, and having a bit more water with you, rather a little bit too much than too little, is always good. But remember, if you do, in that case, where you want to be totally independent of stopping at the designated stopping places where you can get food, if you do run out taking care of yourself, you can always stop there and grab something to eat. So there's no real problem. But if you want to be totally independent, you have to plan that a little bit, and we do that by placing 2 bottles of water, or maybe 4 bottles if you're doing a longer distance. You will see at certain places that you'll see a water bottle standing maybe on a little chair that's made for someone to sit on and look at the view. Usually it's stacked full of water bottles, because that's a good spot to stop, because the pace isn't too high. If the guys are flying through the first lap and you're stopping to grab water bottles, you might lose 40 seconds and you won't catch that back up. But if it's a very tight climb and the guys are going slowly, and you can stop maybe for 10 seconds and grab the 2 water bottles, and their pace is slow, you don't lose them out of sight, and lots of guys choose for that. But that's handy to organize, because if you don't know the routes and you don't know exactly where and what, you won't know where to place your water bottles. So the handy is just a start-finish area. Place them maybe 200 meters before the start-finish area, or 200 meters behind the start-finish area, so that you know exactly where they are. Some guys have flags on next to their bottles, or they put their bag down there as well, and they know where to stop. Everything looks different if you're tired, so that's why people put flags down and kind of organize a little pit stop place for themselves. But you'll have lots of guys putting their stuff next to you. That's just the way it is. Don't fret about it. Just think, hey, we're all here. Most of the guys there are not going to win the race. 99% of them, well, okay, 90% of the guys that are doing the race aren't really as good as you might think they are. They might look like pros, but most of us are older and we've been cycling for a long time, so we know a lot about it. Doesn't mean we're going to win the race. I was doing a race in Germany, Jaarsveld, my second marathon. I had a really bad day, and before the end of my second lap out of 3, I got lapped by the first pro doing 3 laps. So the pros are really going fast. I was going really slow this day, so my big aim now is, if I do a marathon, is not to get lapped by the pros. But I've managed to do that since then. But it's nothing wrong with that. It's the way it is. They come from behind at a hell of a speed because you're having a worse than bad day. They shout to you, can I get past? And you just pull over in the trail. Don't rush, because if you rush and crash into a tree trying to pull over, it makes no sense. The guys aren't going to freak out. They are mostly very kind, as long as you pull over within like 10 to 20 seconds. They do shout from behind, so don't get a fright. They do warn you, and they are quite gentlemanly about it. Happened to me once, so happens to everyone, and that's why I can tell the story. In the same race, I have to say I had a real bad day, kind of embarrassed, but at some stage in the 3rd lap, there were 3 of us, and we were racing each other, and we were going as hard as we can, and suddenly the motorbike pitched up behind us, and which meant that we were the last 3 guys in the race, and we still raced like maniacs for the 3rd last, 2nd last, and last place. So there was a 120k race in Germany called Jaarsveld. Really embarrassing to tell the story, but we were racing like beasts in the last lap. Actually, in the last lap I started feeling my legs for the first time, so don't know what happened that race. It was my second marathon. You have to get into it a bit, but anyway, to show you, no matter where you are in the race, people are always racing each other, and it's fun, but there's a big camaraderie, and it's fun to do, so don't worry about that. It is always okay, no matter how fast you are. There's always respect on the course. Just make sure you stay out of the fast people's way, and don't force yourself into a small little spot because you want to be 20 seconds faster or not faster. It's not that important. There are long enough pieces where you can ride free, and no one's going to be in your way, so you don't have to cut people off. I've done it a couple of times, unintentionally actually, because you think, maybe if I get past this guy, then I can ride freer on the single trail. But it's not always handy, because the guy's actually the same speed as you are. You're just burning up your watts and your power and your energy. So mostly if the guy's been riding with you for the last 15 kilometers, he's going the same pace as you are. So you don't have to push yourself in anywhere, and just relax. Everyone gets to the finish. There's lots of space to overtake people if you want to. So just wait for your chance, and be careful. The next point is punctures or mechanicals. You can take everything with you. You can take 1 tube with you, 2 tubes with you. If you're riding tubeless like I do, you can take the tubeless kit with you. You can take a little Allen key screwdriver set with you, but everything costs weight, and of course you want to be self-sufficient. You want to be able to get home, but there's a limit to that. I mean, I take one tube with me. I ride tubeless, so I take a very light tube with me to get home or to carry on if I want to. If I do get a puncture, I've never had a puncture since I've been tubeless in a race, so that's lucky. I don't carry mechanical stuff with me, Allen key set, which includes a screwdriver and that kind of stuff, because it's all weight. There's a limit to what I think. If I have a puncture and I can fix it tubeless with a plug, that's going to cost me 4 minutes, and I can carry on. I'll take some CO2 canisters with to get the tire going again, but there's a limit to what you can achieve. If the mechanical or the puncture is going to take you 15 minutes, you're out of the race. If it's a 4-stage race, of course you have to finish it, but if it's a 1-day race, you have to weigh up the odds against how much time do I want this to cost me, and what's worthwhile for me to fix, and what's not worthwhile to fix. So I would say definitely one tube if you want to replace your tube. If you have one puncture, that's definitely viable and worthwhile. Plugs, if you're tubeless, maybe one spare tube with to if the plug doesn't work. But if you break a chain, that's worthwhile to get home. You can fix that link in 5 minutes if you do a good job. I can do it in 5 minutes, I think. If it's going to take you half an hour and you just want to finish the race and have fun, I would do that as well. So there's a limit to what you can carry, of course. You can have a big saddle bag or even a bag on your back, so where you can put water in these. I never use them, so I just kind of lost the word. These water packets you put in your back. Sorry, I can't think of the word. But those things are too heavy for me. But you can put stuff in there. You can put an extra tube in there. You can put a little mechanical set, screwdriver, Allen key set in there. You can put all kinds of stuff in there. But the odds are, do you want to carry that weight? Is that worth your while? And that's just something you have to decide for yourself. Basic, I would say, spare tube, stuff to fix the spare tube with, to get the tire levers, a pump or CO2 canisters. If you're running tubeless, the plugs, of course, extra tube. You can take a lightweight tube then, so that's also good. Also tire levers, of course, because you have to get the tube in. So it's just weighing the odds off and deciding for yourself what's worth it. Do you want to spend 30 minutes next to the road or 45 minutes fixing it? Yes or no? Do you want to be able to get home? Yes or no? Or do you think, well, I'm screwed anyway, I'm going to find a lift home and that's it? If I'm racing in Holland, I don't carry any spares and anything with me. I think to myself, well, I can get home. In Germany, I like to carry a spare tube with me so I can get home. Because I'm riding tubeless, I try it with the plug first and I carry on racing. If that doesn't work, I replace the tube and I carry on racing. But if there's still a bit of a problem after that, that's end of race. Just because I'm talking about losing half an hour or an hour. If it's a stage race, of course you have to fix it and carry on, but then you usually have a buddy with you in a stage race to help you with these things, and it goes a bit quicker and more organized. And don't stress out if you have a puncture, just take it easy and fix it and carry on. That's mostly the best way to do it. I hope that's clear enough. It's very what's good for you, what do you want to do, what do you need to do, and what works for you. So that's something you have to decide for yourself. Alright, any questions, let me know. I've had the question, if it's really bad weather and you're standing there before the race and you've driven all the way hoping the weather gets better, and you think to yourself, well, this might be dangerous, or it's nothing for me, or I don't really feel like riding this kind of weather. Remember, mountain biking is a summer sport, and you don't have to go out there if it's terrible weather or rainy and muddy and soggy and ice cold. In Holland it's a bit of a, in the winter we mountain bike, in the summer we race bike kind of thing. But where I come from, mountain biking is a summer sport, and I've been to one race where it was really, I rode the course the day before to see for myself. Excuse me. And it was really wet and soggy, and it kept on raining and raining, and it was just muddy. I could hardly pedal the bike, and I decided there and then not to race. So I went to a nice spot the next day and I went to watch the race. It was still raining and wet and soggy, but taking risks in those kind of conditions, for me as chiropractor, with my arms, my elbows, my collarbones, I just don't want to do it. So if it's bad weather, you don't want to race, no one cares, no one's gonna know. I mean, it's not a competition about who does it, who doesn't do it. It's about having fun. It's about deciding for yourself what is safe, what you'd like to do and what you won't like to do. And if you think, hey, this is not something I really want to do, no problem, no stress, you don't have to pitch up. If you've done like 10 or 20 kilometers and you started the race, it's always handy to go to official and say to them, well, this is my number, I am pulling out of the race, so that they know. What happens often after the race is they send the motorbikes out to look for certain numbers that haven't come in, and in the meantime the guys went home. So if you're pulling out after 30 k's or after one lap, let an official know that you are leaving the race, so that they know and they don't have to go look for you at the end of the day. But if you didn't start the race, that's no problem, you just don't start, even though you picked up your number the day before. Oh, that's something else. Usually you have to go to the race, start the day before to pick up a number. You can do it the morning before, but then it becomes a huge rush. So I always do it the day before, but you can do it the morning before. So you go to the race start, they give you times, look where you enter on the internet. They say to you, once you receive an email that you've entered, you can pick up your start number the day before between 5 and 7, usually in the evening, or that before the race at 6 o'clock. That is usually kind of stressy and rushy if you do it in the morning before the race, but that's up to you. Almost forgot that point, that's very important. The race number you can pick up, some races mail it to you, which is very cool, because that means you don't have that extra trip to the race start. That makes it very easy. So the extra trip, I mean the day before, picking up your number. I think if you're doing a race somewhere far away in Germany and you're traveling in the morning, you have to pick up a number there and then. That's only one trip, so that's okay, but I still find that a bit rushy. It's not very nice for me to do. The next question is, can you take the wrong way or go the wrong route during a marathon? Yes, definitely. This has happened to me before. I think it happened to me in Germany twice. Once in a marathon, once in a half marathon. That doesn't have to happen to you, because you can most people ride the lap or a lap the day before or a couple of days before, so you kind of know where to go. You put that information of the lap into your Garmin, so that's no problem. But if you arrive the morning before or the day before and the laps are a bit long, you can't ride the whole lap. Either way, I don't. I remember riding in Hunsrück a half marathon, and I was lying in third place in the 50 plus category at that stage. I didn't know it afterwards. I saw this in the results and stuff. And the group I was in, we turned right instead of left. At that stage, the kid that's supposed to say to you, you have to go right or left, had to go take a pee, so he was temporarily not available. It must have been like 1 minute. When we arrived, we all went right, maybe rode for a kilometer or two, when some person walking said to us we took the wrong way. We went back. We turned around and went back. And as we reached that spot where the kid was standing, he was there again. I've never heard German people swear like that. Schwein, Hund, Scheisser. People were really pissed off. Yeah, we lost maybe, I don't know, 2Ks times 2, because we had to go back. We lost maybe 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, so it was the race over for all of us. So the guys were really pissed off. But yeah, actually it's your own responsibility to know where to ride to. And I didn't say anything to the poor kid. Once I did a good thing, because oh man, the guys are swearing at him, and I knew some German swearing words, and I thought to myself, okay, don't say anything. The poor kid already had enough. We were a group of maybe 8 people, and 7 of the people swore at him, maybe 6. So you can go the wrong way. You have to, and you are responsible for that. If you have any doubts, usually this happens when you don't actually look yourself and you follow the wheel in front of you and they go wrong. It's your own responsibility if you go wrong. You can put the route into your Garmin. Sometimes you can download the route onto your Garmin before the race, which is pretty handy. I never do it, and maybe in 40 races I've gone wrong twice. But can happen, it's your own responsibility. Good question. Yes, I would definitely advise you to do a mountain bike marathon, because you ride in the most beautiful forests, you reach the most beautiful places, which usually you won't. You have free food and drinks on the way. They take care of you. It's beautiful. It's worthwhile trying. Start off with a 1 lap, see how that goes. The 1 lap's usually the fun ride. There are a bunch of guys that go fast. Start at the back, enjoy yourself, see how that goes, and you can always build up to longer distances if you want to. It is so beautiful. The routes are so spectacular, especially in Germany. I love it, and I would advise it. Go for it, give it a try, and let me know how you found it. I hope the information I gave you is handy. I hope that you have enough information. If you don't have any, if you have more questions, you don't have enough information, just ask me on the questions, and I'll get back to you. Okay, hope it helps. Have a good day. As you can see, it's raining outside, and it's wet over here, so it's no good weather for the mountain bike, but hopefully it clears up soon.